Tribute from the western regions included grapes and honey melons. My elder brother, for his excellent governance, was rewarded with both. After returning home, he first went to see our eldest sister. Then when he came to me, there were no grapes and no honey melons left. Only a plate of ordinary red dates. At the Mid-Autumn Lantern Festival, I wanted to tell this to my fiancé, Ju, but he was busy picking out a hairpin. One was a gaudy crabapple blossom, the other a plain jasmine flower. Which one should he give to my eldest sister? He was caught in a dilemma. I was devastated, but I didn't dare go home and cry. Instead, I hid in the dead-end alley behind the house, squatting in the corner. My brother said I was greedy, but I only wanted to taste a single grape. Was I really that greedy? Ju is supposed to be my fiancé, yet he gave a hairpin to my sister, not to me. Am I really the one being picky? Just as I spoke, a gentle voice suddenly came over the wall. How about marrying me instead? I have plenty of grapes and could buy many hairpins. If I give them all to only you, then no one will call you greedy or fussy anymore. I was stunned, so shocked that I even forgot to cry. I knew there was a house behind the wall. It wasn't the first time I had cried here or encountered someone, but this was the first time the person behind the wall removed a brick and handed me a plain white handkerchief through the hole. The second time, they passed me several beautifully wrapped candies. Neither time did they speak. I thought the person must be a gentle-natured girl. That's why I let myself weep so freely. But the voice that just spoke was clearly a man's. His voice was unhurried, gentle, and low. He even said, not just grapes and hairpins, lychees from Lingnan, apples from northern Shaanxi, and the promise that in dire straits I would save only you, save you alone. All of these I can do. Miss, you might want to consider it. I listened. My nose tingled. The tears I hadn't yet stopped suddenly spilled over. I'm not one to cry easily. It's just that sometimes I can't hold back my tears. But ever since my parents passed away and my sister, who had been raised in Qingzhou since childhood due to illness, returned, I've been afraid to cry at home. Xiaoying, your sister is in poor health. Are you trying to spite her? What are you so wronged about? Crying like this, what will your sister think? My elder brother always said that. After being scolded a few times, I didn't even dare to cry secretly under my covers anymore. I couldn't stand it anymore, so I had to sneak out and hide. The engagement between Ju and me was verbally arranged by my parents when they were alive. At first, he would come to see me. He learned that my elder brother had brought back a basket of pinpo fruits from his official trip. But they were all sent to eldest sister's courtyard, not a single one given to me. Only a plate of red dates. He asked me, how about I come to propose to your family sooner? Once we're married, I'll buy you as many pinpo fruits as you want, okay? When he learned that my eldest sister had taken a liking to my sachet, and I was scolded by my brother for not giving it to her, he was indignant. Your things, why should you give them up? Xiaoying, don't give it up. Do you hear me? Until 4 months ago, my brother's colleague gifted him a bunch of lychees. When the lychees were sent to sister's courtyard, I happened to be there. I had never eaten a lychee before, so I looked at them curiously a few times. Just as my sister picked one off and handed it to me, my brother saw it. Then, he suddenly flew into a rage. Xiaoying, didn't I send you red dates? These all belong to your sister. How dare you covet your sister's things? Get to the ancestral hall and kneel. When you realize your mistake, send someone to call me. I knelt all through the night. The next day, when Ju came to see me and saw that my legs hurt so much I couldn't stand, he first tried to comfort me. Just because of a lychee? How could your brother punish you like this? Xiaoying, are you stupid? Why didn't you fight back? But when he saw my brother and sister arriving in a flurry, he suddenly grew distracted. That was the first time Ju had seen my sister. He asked, Xiaoying, is this your elder sister, Xiaoying? I nodded numbly, and then he abruptly changed his tune. Oh, then it's your fault. You really ought to defer to her. My legs hurt so terribly that day I couldn't escape far. The only place I could hide was this dead-end alley. But crying solved nothing, because Ju started visiting me more and more often. When he brought pastries for me, he'd bring a portion for my sister as well. When he gave me jewelry for my birthday, he'd also buy a set and have it sent to my sister's courtyard. He said, Xiaoying, the things I give wanting are only because she's your sister. Don't overthink it. But last month, during the Ulambana festival, my brother took me and my sister to pray at the Bailu temple. When he followed, his gaze was always glued to my elder sister, never leaving her. He asked her if she was tired, thirsty, or hot, but never asked me, not even when bandits were robbing the donation money at Bailu Temple. When all the pilgrims were trapped inside the halls, he kept protecting my sister, saying, "Miss Song, don't be afraid. I'll protect you." That day, we were trapped by armed bandits for 2 hours. As the sky darkened and the cries of dying people echoed outside the hall, Chui Ju finally remembered a hidden exit behind the temple. "Brother Chui, take Wanning and leave first," my elder brother said without a second thought, making the decision. But Chui Ju hesitated. "No, although the exit is hidden, someone must hold the rear when we leave, or the bandits will catch up, and Miss Song won't escape." So my elder brother turned his gaze to me. "Xiaoying, wait here. We'll come back for you once your sister is safe." But they never came back, until the bandits entered the Buddha Hall with their swords drawn. Realizing someone was missing, he began a massacre. People panicked and fled in all directions. I was knocked down, my hands and legs trampled. None of them came back. It was the authorities who came to rescue. When I was sent home, the mansion was very quiet. Afraid that my elder brother would see me crying and scold me again, I didn't dare to go in immediately. I stood blankly at the door for a long time, then slipped into an alley to cry a while longer. After finally calming down, swallowing my pain, I limped back home, only to find the house utterly silent. My elder sister was ill, shaken and palpitating with fright. She had just taken her medicine and fallen asleep. Half an hour ago, Chui Ju had just left, and my elder brother was watching over her in her courtyard. No one was looking for me. When he saw me come back, my elder brother said lightly, "Good that you're home safe. Keep your voice down. Don't wake your sister. Go and rest." I barely held back the tears that nearly burst forth again. Today was the Mid-Autumn Lantern Festival. Actually, when I went to find Chui Ju, I wasn't going to complain that my brother hadn't shared the grapes and melon with me. A plate of red dates would have been fine, too. Lately, I've been thinking that way. But when my brother brought the red dates, he said, "Xiaoying, the Chui family is a great noble house. Although Chui Ju's branch is a collateral line, it is still a family of some repute in the capital. You are still young, so there's no hurry. Your sister is weak in health, so it might be better to let her have this marriage arrangement first." My elder brother wasn't discussing it with me. He was informing me. Therefore, learning he would take my sister out to see the lanterns today and that Chui Ju would also be there, I secretly followed as well. I wanted to ask Chui Ju if he knew about the swap. Was this decision his? Were his vows to marry me still valid? But Chui Ju spent the whole time talking to my sister and never acknowledged me. Finally, when he quietly slipped into the Tsuishuan pavilion, I thought I had found a chance to speak with him. He had already picked up 2 jade hairpins. One was a red jade carved into a crabapple, small and delicate. The other was a white jade carved into a gardenia, elegant and refined. Your sister is used to plain and elegant things. Gardenias suit her best. But an occasional flamboyant hairpin seems nice too. "Xiaoying, which one do you think your sister would like?" Watching him struggle with the choice, I suddenly knew the answer. "How about I buy both and give them to you, sister?" That was my reply. But now, listening to the man's voice from across the wall, I wiped my tears and found my answer in my heart. "All right, come to my home and propose." When I wiped my tears and returned home, Chui Ju and my sister had just come back from watching the lanterns, standing at the door. The lanterns swayed, stretching and overlapping their shadows. I saw Chui Ju holding those 2 jade hairpins, blushing as he handed them to my sister. What did he say? I was too far away to hear. I only saw my sister notice me and walk over with a smile. "Brother Chui, you're giving me these 2 hairpins. What about Xiaoying? Did you give something to Xiaoying?" My sister's cool hand took mine. She didn't take Chui Ju's jade hairpin. It seemed like she was speaking up for me. Chui Ju was stunned. After a long pause, he took out another peach blossom hairpin from his sleeve. "Of course, I also have one for Xiaoying." My sister's smile deepened, as if genuinely happy for me. She took the hairpin and tucked it into my bun. Her eyes sparkled as she said, "It's beautiful, very fitting for Xiaoying." "Xiaoying, do you like it?" "No, I don't." I suddenly felt extremely embarrassed. This peach blossom hairpin, 3 months ago on my birthday, Chui Ju gave me an identical one. That day, he said he had carefully chosen it for a long time. But today I saw it was a free gift with those 2 jade hairpins. The Shuan Pavilion has many such peach blossom hairpins used as giveaway items. Just like the red dates my brother brought me, which can be bought everywhere on the street. They give them as gifts when you buy jade hairpins, jade bracelets, or earrings. Even that 100-tail pair of jade bracelets on the counter. On my birthday, Ju gave a pair to my sister. She is wearing them today. And that identical peach blossom hairpin is right now in my hair. My sister clearly saw it. Ju also saw it. I didn't accept Ju's peach blossom hairpin. I even took off the one for my own hair and threw it into his arms. As I ran into the mansion in distress, I heard my sister's voice. Sorry, Master Cui, Xiaoying didn't accept your hairpin. If I accepted it, she would be upset. I'm not stupid. Even as slow as I am, I could hear the thorn in my sister's words. But I didn't understand. If she didn't want Ju's hairpin, she could have just said so. Why drag me into it? When I was young, Mother took me back to Qingzhou every year, and she was happy to be with me. In Qingzhou, whenever I was punished by Mother for being naughty, she always protected me. Why did everything change the moment she returned to the capital? That night, I slept with my face buried in the blanket. When I woke up the next day, my eyes were swollen like walnuts. While I was applying an egg to them, I heard my nanny say that matchmakers had come to propose marriage. I wasn't surprised, because last night, I had already come to an agreement with a young gentleman on the other side of the wall. Oh, Xiaoying. 2 families have come to propose, including Master Ju. Come on, let's go take a look. Ju? I was stunned. The nanny had already pulled me up. When my parents and Madame Cui verbally settled the engagement between Ju and me, the nanny was there too. She didn't know that my elder brother wanted to swap my sister to marry into the Cui family. Nor did she know that Ju had changed his mind and no longer wanted to marry me. She led me outside the main hall, quietly pointed at one of the matchmakers, and was very happy for me. Look, that's the matchmaker sent by the Cui family to propose for you. I didn't look at the matchmaker. I looked at my elder brother. I had never seen him so happy. Flipping through the 2 betrothal certificates, he stood up excitedly. This, matters of marriage, I must discuss with my sister. He handed the 2 betrothal certificates to a servant and instructed, send them to the eldest young lady for her to see. But one of the matchmakers hastily stopped him. He pulled out one certificate. Wrong. This family's elder said they are only interested in the second Miss Song, not the eldest Miss Song. The other matchmaker laughed. The Cui gentleman's betrothal doesn't matter. Send it to the eldest Miss Song to see. The Cui family said, first check the eldest Miss Song's birth characters. If they don't match, then consider the second Mississippi. I couldn't hear the rest clearly. I only saw my brother's smile fade a little. He seemed somewhat displeased that my sister couldn't choose from the 2 certificates. Frowning, he asked the matchmaker who had taken the certificate, are you sure the Marquis of Xinyang's heir is interested in the second Miss Song, Song Xiaoying, and not the eldest Miss Song, Song Weining? A gentle, warm reply came from the doorway. Naturally. Following the sound, I saw a young man in green robes with ink-black hair, as gentle as jade, as if stepping out of a painting. The one I want to marry is Song Xiaoying, the second Miss Song. He was Pei Mo, the heir of the Marquis of Xinyang. I had heard of him. Not much. Only that he was the legitimate son of the Grand Princess and the nephew of the current emperor. Was the man behind the wall really such a favored child of heaven? I stared blankly at the man walking toward me, with a light smile. He was tall and graceful, with an extraordinary bearing. Even his features were like those of a banished immortal in a painting. I was so stunned that I forgot to keep my distance. It wasn't until my brother and the matchmaker came out to greet him that Pei Mo stopped, smiling as he looked at me. We meet again, Miss Xiaoying. I finally came back to my senses. That's right. His voice was just as I remembered, the one from last night who said he wanted to marry me. Suppressing my nervousness, I lowered my eyes and carefully spoke. We meet again. Pei Mo's gaze paused on my swollen eyes. He frowned almost imperceptibly. Then he looked at my brother, still smiling, but his voice was no longer as gentle as before. Lord Song, do you have any objection to my proposal to your second daughter? Brother lowered his eyes and said respectfully, I wouldn't dare. Then why did I hear Lord Song asking from afar whether I wished to marry the second Miss Song? Does Lord Song think I am the kind of person who is fickle and inconstant? His words had a double meaning. His tone was somewhat sharp. Brother's forehead beaded with cold sweat. Was it a warning or a rebuke? He shot a covert glance at me. This subordinate wouldn't dare. Payamo stopped questioning him. He then turned to look at me, with a faint smile and a voice that grew gentle again. And what about the second Miss Song? Are you willing to this engagement? He was like that handkerchief, like those preserved fruits. It was as if he was backing me up, and as if he was comforting me. For no reason, my heart felt a little bitter. I wanted to say, of course, I am willing. We agreed yesterday. But as soon as I opened my mouth, Sister's delighted voice rang out abruptly, interrupting me. Is it you? Little General.
Sister arrived.
I don't know when she got there, standing at the door. She looked at Payamo with a mix of joy and shyness. Last year, on her way back to the capital, Sister had been followed by a local thug. She was rescued by a young general who escorted her part of the way. After returning to the capital, she asked my elder brother to inquire about him for a while. I knew about this. But she called him young General Payamo? The one who saved her was Payamo? My breath caught. My hand, hidden in my sleeve, instinctively tightened. But my elder sister had already composed her expression, walking over with a gentle smile. After our parting in Huaizhou last year, how have you been, General? I wonder if the general still remembers me? Does Payamo remember my elder sister? Would he, like Cui Ju, no longer want to marry me after seeing her? Would he, like my elder brother, favor my sister as soon as she arrives? Staring intently at Payamo, I suddenly felt nervous. But Payamo's gaze swept over my sister's face without a moment's thought, and he asked coldly, "Who are you? Why would I remember you?" My elder sister's smile froze. The surprise faded, and my elder brother quickly took over the conversation. Wani was returning to the capital from Qingzhou last year when she was followed by ruffians while passing through Huaizhou. Fortunately, you stepped in to help. Last year I searched for my benefactor for a long time, never expecting that the benefactor was you, the young prince. Looking at it this way, today you and Wanning have reunited, truly destined. Destined? But Payamo had come specifically to propose to me. My heart felt as if it had been doused in a bottle of aged vinegar, its sourness making my eyes sting with heat. Fearing my brother would notice and scold me again, I hurriedly lowered my head to hide the blur before my eyes. It wasn't until Payamo's suddenly cold voice reached my ears. Lord Song, you are also an official at court. You should know that serving the country and the people is a duty and a responsibility. Over the years, I have helped noble princes and common peddlers alike. If everyone thought like you, wouldn't it mean that everyone has a connection with me? Miss Song. He paused, then suddenly called out to me, his voice once again as warm as a spring breeze. I lifted my eyes and met his resolute gaze. You haven't answered me yet. Do you accept this marriage? Are you willing to marry me? A warm breeze seemed to sweep gently through my heart, blowing away the gloom and filling it with warm mist. At this moment, I could no longer see my brother's suddenly ugly expression, nor my sister's tearful face as she twisted her handkerchief. In my eyes, there was only Payamo, whose smile relaxed as if he had heard heavenly music. I am willing to marry. For the remaining formalities, Payamo left them to the matchmaker, knowing that I might have something I wanted to ask. He asked me, "Second Miss Song, would you like to take a walk?" When he led me away, my elder brother's face was still dark, and my sister's tears had already fallen. My sister is beautiful. With her thin lips lightly bitten and tears silently streaming, she looked as beautiful as a painting. As I stepped out of the main hall's courtyard, I heard my elder brother comforting my sister in a low voice. "Wan Ning, don't cry. Your brother will think of something for you." What did he plan to think of for her? I didn't know. I just suddenly remembered the last time I cried, how he frowned impatiently. It left me stunned for a moment, my emotions churning. Fortunately, Payamo didn't take me far. We only went around one street to a residence that was separated from the Song estate by a single alley. Turning into the waterside pavilion, servants brought platters of fruits and set them on the stone table. Payamo's eyes curved as he pushed the plate toward me.
Try some.
The grapes were green and translucent. The honeydew melon was sweet and fragrant, its color tempting. I looked at it, and the conversation from last night and the scene before me flooded back. Only then did I feel a belated embarrassment. As our eyes met, my cheeks burned. Payamo seemed to be no better off than I was. Though he still wore a gentle smile, the tips of his ears were tinged with pink, betraying a loss of the composure he'd shown moments before. Finally, it was he who broke the silence. Look over there. He smiled and pointed behind me. The first time I heard you cry, you were sitting right here. Following his gesture, I saw the wall missing 2 bricks. It also brought back memories of that plain white silk handkerchief and those few preserved plums. The recollection dispelled my nervousness. I suddenly felt a bit more at ease. Curiosity got the better of me. Young Master Pei, why are you willing to marry me? After all, he was the son of the Grand Princess, commander of the patrol battalion, and assistant to the Crown Prince. Of noble birth with a bright future ahead. Meanwhile, my father, when alive, was only a 5th-rank secretary in the Ministry of Revenue. Though my elder brother had become a chief minister of the Court of Judicial Review, our family status and background were hardly impressive.
Besides,
I'm not as pretty as my sister, not as skilled in music, chess, calligraphy, or painting. I cry easily and I'm timid. Last night, acting on impulse, I hadn't thought it through, not knowing who he was. Now that I knew, the gap between us felt too vast. Xiaoying, you are wonderful. Pei Mo corrected me earnestly, his gaze both firm and gentle. One doesn't have to be exceptionally good to be liked. You're sincere and kind. If you excel at music, chess, calligraphy, and painting, that's a bonus. But even if you don't, it doesn't stop me from thinking you're wonderful. As for being timid and crying easily, he seemed to think of something, and his smile deepened. Humans are born to laugh when happy and cry when sad. No one has the right to take away another's right to laugh or cry. At least I think Song Xiaoying, who can laugh and cry, is very vivid. And you're not timid at all. My heart pounds like a drum, each beat louder than the last, filling my chest with a mix of sorrow and warmth. I couldn't help but wonder. Pei Mo, have we met somewhere before? I didn't get to ask that question. Pei Mo was called away on official business. The Crown Prince urgently summoned him. By the time I returned to the mansion, the matchmaker had already left. My elder brother seemed very angry. He came to my courtyard as soon as I returned, frowning as he asked, "How do you know the heir of the Pei family? You know clearly that your sister has been searching for him for a long time. Why did you say in front of your sister that you're willing to marry him? Song Xiaoying, what do you think your sister will feel?" I had guessed my brother would question me, but it seemed I was only half right.
I don't quite understand.
What about Cui Ju? Brother clearly knows that Cui Ju and I have an oral engagement, so why did he set him up with sister and why did he give his birth date card to sister to choose? I have always respected brother. Since childhood, I have never disobeyed his words. The first time I questioned him back, a flash of surprise crossed his face. After a long while, he rubbed his brow and spoke patiently. How can these two things be conflated? Anyway, I don't agree to this marriage. I have already told the matchmaker that your and Pei Shizi's 8 characters are incompatible. You should also quickly make it clear to Pei Shizi that you are unwilling to marry. Again, that tone of no room for negotiation. At the courtyard gate, a corner of a robe was blown by the wind. I looked at it and suddenly understood. So this is the method brother mentioned to sister? My 8 characters are not suitable? Whose are suitable? Sisters? But Pei Mo said he would only marry the second daughter of the Song family, Song Xiaoying. He only wants to marry me. Upon hearing this, sister finally came out. But she did not approach. She just stood at the courtyard gate crying. Xiaoying, isn't the person you have feelings for Cui Ju? Why are you trying to take Pei Shizi away? I told Cui Ju to marry you. Would you like to marry him? No, how am I snatching? Hasn't Cui Ju already taken a liking to her? If she doesn't want to marry, then fine. But why must it be like that peach blossom hairpin? Drag me into it and shove it in me? I don't want it.
Boom.
A heavy slap landed on my face, and the world went silent for a moment. I saw my sister crying and saying something. I saw my elder brother's lips moving, and after a while, his voice, like a thunderclap, broke through the void and reached my ears. Song Xiaoying, from childhood to now, what haven't you had in the capital? Why do you always have to compete with your elder sister? Marriage is a matter of parents' command and matchmakers' words. Since our parents are gone, it's up to me, your elder brother, to decide. You must yield in this marriage whether you want to or not. Touching my burning cheek, my tears finally fell in big drops, and all the grievances of the past year erupted at last. Even if I say something, so what? If Pei Mo doesn't marry me, would he marry my sister? Your elder sister can't marry, so you can't marry either. So that's how it is. So what my elder sister has, I cannot have. Take for example the lychees and grapes. Things my sister cannot have, people she cannot marry, I too cannot have or marry. As with Pei Mo, I was locked away by my brother. I had no water to drink, no food to eat. My brother said he would send for me only when I came to my senses. But just like last time when I knelt in the ancestral hall, I went hungry for 2 days and still did not come to my senses. When Ju arrived, I had no strength left. Lying in bed, I heard his impatient voice through the door. Xiaoying, I heard from Wanning and your brother that you agreed to marry the heir of Marquis Xinyang. Marriage is no joke. How can you treat it with such petulance? Petulance? That night, I did agree with a bit of petulance. But not anymore. I want to marry Pei Mo, and only Pei Mo, because he said that my lack of skill in music, chess, calligraphy, and painting was just fine, my timid nature was just fine, and my tendency to cry was just fine. No matter what I was like, he thought I was fine. But I had no strength left to argue. Without waiting for my answer, Ju continued speaking one after another. Are you angry because of that flower hairpin? Your sister grew up in Qingzhou and has never attended the capital's Lantern Festival. It was her first time going out, and I was just happy for her. I didn't mean to give you that peach blossom hairpin. Xiaoying, I will marry you. Please don't be angry with your sister anymore, okay? Behind the wooden door, the room was silent. Ju received no reply, and his heart grew increasingly restless. 2 days earlier, he had heard from the matchmaker that the Song family had kept his betrothal letter. His letter had also been successfully delivered to Wanning's hands. He breathed a sigh of relief. But then he heard the matchmaker say, the Song family is also overjoyed. The second Miss Song has also found a good match. Xiaoying is engaged? Is she still angry about that peach blossom hairpin? Over a hairpin, she would trifle with her own marriage? Thinking this, he immediately wanted to go and dissuade her. But before he reached the gate, he stopped. Forget it, I won't go. Song Xiaoying was always crying, always needing to be coaxed. If she didn't get to eat lychees or pomegranates, she would cry. If her elder brother scolded her, she would also cry, always needing him to comfort her. Unlike her sister, who, even when suffering great grievances, would only smile gently and say, it's fine. It wasn't Xiaoying's fault. He couldn't coax Song Xiaoying forever. He might as well wait until his own marriage was settled. Either way, she would have another good cry then. Perhaps it would be better to explain everything together at that time. Thinking thus, he returned to his residence. After waiting 2 days, he finally received an invitation from the elder brother of the Song family to visit their home. However, it was not to discuss his marriage to Wanning. The elder brother of the Song family looked very troubled. Mr. Cui, when my parents were alive, they arranged a betrothal between you and Xiaoying. Although it hasn't been formally confirmed yet, Xiaoying has always remembered it. Wanning was also crying. Ju, Xiaoying is my younger sister. I can never take away her marriage. Will you marry her instead? Please go and persuade her, okay? It was all because of Song Xiaoying again. Last time, Wanning didn't accept his hairpin. This time, Wanning refused to discuss marriage. It was all because of Song Xiaoying. He suddenly felt very irritable. But Wanning's health was weak. He couldn't let her remain sad and distressed forever, so he might as well marry Song Xiaoying. Since he couldn't marry Wanning anyway, he would still have to marry her. Thinking this, he was about to speak again. But then the wet nurse of the Song family suddenly ran over in a hurry, her eyes red. She opened the lock on the door. Heavens! He is also your elder brother. How could he treat you like this? Xiaoying, don't be afraid. Someone from the palace has come to deliver the imperial edict. When Song Xiaoying was helped out by the crying wet nurse, her lips were cracked, her face deathly pale, and her steps unsteady. In just 2 days, she had lost a lot of weight. Before, her heart and eyes were full of him. But today, as they passed each other, she didn't even glance at him, nor did she cry. The wind blew, lifting her hair. Ju watched, and inexplicably, his heart suddenly felt empty. The imperial decree for the marriage of Pei Mo and me arrived from the palace, setting the 8th day of the 12th lunar month as the wedding day and summoning me to the princess's residence for etiquette training. Once the imperial decree was issued, the marriage between Pei Mo and me was set in stone. When my sister, who had rushed over upon hearing the news, saw our brother receiving the decree, her face turned pale and she fainted. Ju, who was right behind her, quickly caught her. My brother anxiously called for someone to fetch a doctor, and the household fell into chaos. I didn't look at them, but asked the eunuch who delivered the decree weakly, "Sir, when can I go to the princess's residence?" The eunuch smiled kindly. "There is a carriage from the princess's residence outside the gate. The young lady may go at any time." "Then I'll go now." The distance from the main hall to the gate was very short. My brother rushed to send my sister back to her courtyard and didn't notice me leaving. Only Ju, as my wet nurse tearfully helped me to the carriage, caught up. "Xiaoying," he called out to me, as if he had something to say. But at that moment, the carriage curtain was lifted, and Pei Mo frowned slightly, reaching out a clean, slender hand. He said, "Xiaoying, come." The nanny also said, "Go on, Xiaoying. Take the path that's open and eat well." Suddenly, tears fell from my eyes. I couldn't help but grasp Pei Mo's hand and burrow into his embrace, completely missing the lost look on Ju's face behind me, and unaware of Pei Mo's cold, sharp glare at him, his gaze guarded and fierce. The imperial decree was something Pei Mo had begged for. After I had been confined for 2 days, the nanny couldn't bear to see me go hungry, yet she also refused to urge me to admit fault. So, she went through much trouble to find Pei Mo then sent the nanny to bring me 2 messages. One was, "Xiaoying, don't be afraid." The other, "Now you have 2 paths to take, and I will walk whichever one you choose with you." The first path was that he would negotiate with my elder brother on my behalf, and I would first relent. My health mattered most. The marriage could be arranged slowly later, and my relationship with my brother and sister could also be mended. The second was that he would directly petition for an imperial decree of marriage. But if it came to that, I would surely anger my brother, making my days at home even harder. The nanny conveyed his words, laying out both choices and their consequences clearly. As for me, I chose the second option. The princess mansion wasn't too far. The carriage ride didn't last long, just enough time for me to hold the hot congee Pei Mo had brought and finish it in small sips. Pei Mo said the grand princess didn't live in the princess mansion. Although the princess mansion had been vacant for years, it was an imperial gift, so my elder brother wouldn't dare come here. I could stay in peace. He was such an easygoing person who loved to smile, but when he said these words, there wasn't a trace of a smile on his face. His brows were slightly furrowed, his eyes full of concern. I suddenly felt a pang of guilt, but he was busy ordering people to tidy up the rooms, busy arranging for food and clothing supplies, and busy complaining that the quilts weren't soft enough and the flowers in the yard weren't red enough. He didn't stop for a moment, nor did he have a single idle moment to hear me say sorry and thank you. Then a woman came in, affectionately taking my hand and asking, "Are you the second miss of the Song family, Song Xiaoying?" I nodded blankly. Only then did he finish his conversation with the steward and ask helplessly, "Mother, why have you come?" It turned out to be the Grand Princess. I hurriedly performed a curtsy. But the Grand Princess was not as stern as I had imagined. She smelled nice, and her hands were warm. The way she smiled was very similar to Pei Mo, but her eyes held a mix of affection and reproach, which also reminded me of my mother. "You are so anxious to go find your uncle to issue the marriage decree. As your mother, can I come and see which family's daughter it is? I wonder who it is." After being a steady little old man for over 20 years, the moment he hears someone is in danger, he puts on his armor and goes. After saying this, she turned to look at me, her eyes filled with the same concern as Pei Mo's. "Child, just think of this place as your own home. If there's anything you lack, just say so. Of course, you can speak when you're happy, and you can also speak when you're unhappy. There aren't many rules here, so don't be constrained." She was very gentle, and her personality was quite similar to Pei Mo's. She couldn't seem to stop. She complained that the brocade quilt Pei Mo picked was tacky in color, and that the flowers he chose were too red and gaudy, so she personally went to negotiate with the steward. Once she got busy, Pei Mo ended up with nothing to do. He smiled helplessly and said, "I'm sorry, my mother is like this. Occasionally, she gets impulsive." But I didn't mind. I was concerned about something else. "Pei Mo, was it you who brought soldiers to rescue people at White Heron Temple on the day of the bandit attack?" My memory of that day at White Heron Temple is already somewhat blurry, partly because I was too distressed at the time and didn't pay attention to many details. And also because I was too terrified and in too much pain. I had nightmares for several nights afterward and deliberately avoided thinking about it. So, who came to rescue me? Who sent me home? I don't remember at all. I only recall that I was crying so hard my vision was blurred, and everyone looked like they were wrapped in a thick fog. I remember the arms that carried me into the carriage were strong and steady, and I remember a firm, resounding sound of horse hooves following outside the carriage. It only disappeared when I arrived home. I just heard from the eldest princess that when you learned I was in danger, you put on your silver armor and went at once. Was it you who escorted me home that day at White Heron Temple? My heart trembled like an osmanthus tree shaken by the wind, and I stared intently at Pei-mo. His brows gradually relaxed, and he said, it was me. When I arrived that day, I saw you protecting a child. The robber's knife was very close to you, but you didn't let go. I also saw you get hurt, in such pain, yet you stood at the doorstep for a long time. Xiaoying, timid people dare not protect others. You are not timid. You cry easily, but it's just that no one has ever cherished you. Saying this, he paused slightly, a smile in his eyes as if starlight was swirling. But it's okay, from now on you have me. I'll always be here. Another gust of wind blew, stirring the rustling tree shadows, bringing a drizzling rain. My chest felt like raindrops beating on banana leaves. All the grievances I had suffered before seemed to be washed away in that moment. I lowered my head and said, thank goodness I have you. The days living in the princess's mansion passed like a fleeting moment, and before we knew it, 3 months had gone by. During those 3 months, Pei-mo came every single day, and the grand princess was also there half the time. She wasn't teaching me etiquette. Most of the time, they just chatted with me. The grand princess loved to talk about Pei-mo when he was young, chatting about folk legends and gossip from the inner courtyards. As for those fruits I had never tasted, she would urge me to try them while watching me with a loving gaze, then excitedly comment, Pei-mo was right, you really are like a little rabbit. Pei-mo also liked to talk, but most of the time, he would ask me with curved brows and a gentle smile, Xiaoying, for winter clothes, do you prefer red or willow green? What about other colors? Any you like? Is there anything that makes you happy?
Can you tell me?
How about a hot pot today? Last time I saw Mother talking with you about it, you seemed to really enjoy it. Let's try it today. He seemed determined to fully figure out my preferences. He always patiently guided me to speak slowly and think slowly. And as he had guessed, my elder brother came to see me twice. I didn't want to see him. My brother didn't dare to barge in, so he wrote letters and had them delivered. I didn't even read them. I burned them all. But somehow, the news of the matchmaker's visit that day got out. Young Master Pei came to the Song residence to discuss marriage with the second miss, yet Song Dalong insisted on matching him with the eldest miss. What was he thinking? Cui Ju had an oral marriage agreement with the second miss of the Song family. When the Cui family came to negotiate a match, they picked between the 2 Song girls. First, they chose the eldest, and when that fell through, they went for the second. There was even talk that young Master Pei and the second miss of the Song family already had His Majesty as their matchmaker. The eldest son of the Song family forced the second Miss Song to swap marriages. TCH, how ugly. Rumors are vicious, like falling snow. My brother and Cui Ju's official careers seem to be affected. How badly? I didn't inquire closely, because the wedding day was approaching. I was very busy. But that day, the eldest princess came to me and said that Princess Qinghe was hosting a birthday banquet in 3 days and invited me to bring you along. Princess Qinghe, the matriarch of the Cui family, Cui Ju's aunt. The eldest princess probably knew about the entanglement between Cui Ju and me, and she didn't urge me. If you don't want to go, then we won't. But I shook my head. Let's go. I have no intention of offending anyone, nor do I want the eldest princess to be troubled because of me. Princess Qinghe wants to befriend us. In a place like the capital, it's always better to have one more friend than one more enemy. On the day of the feast, Pei-mo had important business and couldn't go with us. When the eldest princess and I arrived, it was just past noon. A very ordinary birthday banquet. Dining, idle chat, enjoying the snow, and listening to music. The only unusual thing was that my sister was also there. During the snow viewing interlude, as I was about to follow the eldest princess out the door, she came up and tugged at my sleeve. The eldest princess also stopped. She turned to look at me. Madame Cui quickly smiled and urged, Princess, let us enjoy the snow. Let the 2 of them talk. They are sisters after all. If there are misunderstandings, it's best to clear them up. The Grand Princess exchanged a look with me to confirm, and only when I nodded did she leave with Madame Cui and the others. When everyone had dispersed and only the two of us remained, my sister finally spoke. Xiaoying, are you still angry with me and our brother?
Are you? Probably.
But today, did you come specifically just to ask about this? She gave a bitter smile, picked up 2 cups of wine from the table, and handed one to me. Today I came to apologize and to persuade you to come home. Xiaoying, I know that regarding your marriage to young Master Pei, my brother and I both overreacted. But it's been so long since then, and we all hope that you can be married from home. This cup of wine, I hope you can forgive me. I shook my head and did not take the cup. But that place is no longer my home. My sister is a beauty who easily inspires pity. She tightened her grip on her sleeves and lowered her eyes, looking pitiful, as if holding back sorrow. After a long while, she first drank one of the cups of wine. Then she handed the other cup to me. You don't want to go home. Then, can you drink this wine? Consider it my apology. Staring at her face, I suddenly realized that I had never truly known her. We are sisters connected by blood. If we can't even be close, so be it. But did it have to come to this? Originally, I had decided not to be sad, but I really couldn't help it. I truly couldn't think of an answer. Meeting her earnest gaze, I finally took the cup and drank it in one gulp. Fine. I was already a bit drunk, so I didn't go out to enjoy the snow. Returning to my seat, I sat quietly for a moment, then slumped onto the table. My sister walked over softly and called to me, Xiaoying? Seeing me with my eyes closed, she called several times without response. She helped me up. Xiaoying, you're drunk. There's a room in the back. I'll take you to rest. She had always been frail. Ever since returning to the capital from Qingzhou, she had rarely been without medicinal soup. Sometimes, even an extra gust of wind could make her cough. I never knew she had such strength, strong enough to support a drunken me without her steps faltering. Is there a guest room available? My sister is drunk.
Please take her to rest.
She summoned a maid from the Cui residence, and together they helped me into a room in the guest courtyard. After I was lying down, the maid withdrew. She also left quickly. I didn't wake up, keeping my eyes closed. Sure enough, another set of footsteps soon approached. Xiaoying? The door closed. It was Cui Ju. He paced around the room once, then headed toward the bed. The footsteps stopped. He seemed to hold his breath too. Xiaoying? He called me again, his intense gaze falling on me. Then he stepped closer and reached out his hand toward me. And I, the moment his hand was about to touch me, suddenly opened my eyes. Our eyes met. Cui Ju froze, stopping awkwardly.
So you were awake?
I sat up. If I hadn't been awake, what would you have done? Listened to your elder sister. Harassing me? Cui Ju's brows furrowed instantly. How is that possible? He retorted anxiously. How could I ever do something so despicable? And Wan Ning is your sister. A woman's reputation is so important. How could she have let me do that? Exactly. A woman's reputation is paramount. A man and a woman alone in a room together. Even if nothing happened, a woman's reputation would be ruined. Yet faced with such facts, he still refused to believe it. But I wouldn't argue with him. I stood up, keeping as far from him as possible, and asked warily, Then why are you here? Stung by my icy tone, he froze. After several hesitant attempts to speak, he suddenly smiled bitterly. These past few months, I've been thinking, if I hadn't given you that peach blossom hairpin that day, how would things have turned out? Would you still have married Pei Mo out of spite? Would you and I still have come to this point of cutting off all contact? I've thought day and night but found no answer, and I somewhat regret it. He didn't continue to say what he regretted, his eyes fixed on me like a surging deep pool, as if trying to find on my face a hint that I had been coerced. Xiaoying, do you really want to marry the young Marquis Pei? We were already betrothed. If you're just angry with me, I can go speak to my parents and It's not anger. I interrupted him. Last time he asked, I didn't have the strength to answer. This time, looking back into his eyes, I answered seriously. I really like Pei Mo. Cui Ju's expression twisted in pain, and his hand hanging by his side suddenly clenched. His voice suddenly turned hoarse.
Why? When?
What about me? Weren't you always watching me?
Right.
I was always watching him. So I saw him have the betrothal letter sent to my elder sister first for matching. I saw him carefully selecting a hairpin and jade bracelet for my sister, while for my birthday, he only casually gave me a gift. I also saw that in a moment of crisis, you instinctively chose my sister, and I saw him when he first met my sister. From then on, he never cared about me again. Ju, clearly it was you who changed your heart, yet you never told me clearly. You liked my sister, but also enjoyed me being around you. You bullied me just like them, but Paymo. I paused. Paymo never compared me to anyone. At any moment, he would choose me, only me. So, I was never acting out of spite or being forced. Normally, I'm not a girl of many words. In the past, when I truly felt wronged, I would only complain a little when Ju asked. He had probably never heard me speak so much at once. Ju stared at me blankly, as if seeing me for the first time. But I no longer wished to argue with him. I walked to the door. Ju, you don't believe your sister would harm me, do you? Look, the door won't open. The door had been locked from the outside. It wouldn't budge. Ju rushed over as if waking from a dream, confirming that it was truly locked. He finally believed 2/10 of my words. Xiaoying, the sound of hurried footsteps interrupted him, turning his face instantly pale. Then, with a loud bang, the door was suddenly kicked open. Xiaoying. The voice was panicked, laced with lingering fear. It was Paymo, who had been on duty today. I had never seen Paymo so flustered, he who normally remained calm even if the sky fell. A thin layer of sweat now clung to his forehead, and the rims of his eyes were red. He gripped my shoulders, looking me up and down. And through the fabric of my clothes, I could feel his hands trembling. The slight, quivering touch made my heart stir with a strange, ticklish sensation.
Paymo, al fine.
I curved my brows and smiled to reassure him. He let out a breath of relief. Only then did he relax, his expression turning dark as he spun around and kicked Ju square in the waist and abdomen. Ju was knocked to the ground and tried to get up. But Paymo stomped on his chest. A sharp crack rang out, as if something had broken. The blood instantly drained from Ju's face. And Paymo showed no sign of moving his foot away at all. Ju, you've got some nerve. His tone wasn't harsh, quite light actually. But the look on his face was colder than I had ever seen. Yet I wasn't afraid in the least. On the contrary, I felt completely at ease. Paymo, I called softly to stop him. That's enough. Paymo pressed down again. I could have sworn I sensed a hint of grievance in his manner. But killing him still wouldn't be enough for me. However, if Ju died, not only would it offend the Cui family, but the accusation that I had been alone in a room with him would be fully confirmed. How about locking him in the next room? After 3 months together, I seem to have learned to think like him. I know there are 2 paths before me today. One is to leave now and pretend nothing happened. The other is to stay, wait for my sister to bring people, and see what she really intends to do. And I chose the second from the start. It must be a tacit understanding. In just a moment, Paymo understood my decision. He always trusts me. After locking Ju in the next room, he came back, closed the door, and sat with me, waiting. We didn't wait long. Soon, footsteps and voices sounded outside the courtyard. Your Highness, my younger sister is resting here. The door pushed open, my sister began her prepared speech. What are you? Seeing the scene inside, her shrill voice abruptly stopped. Startled, she blurted out, Young Master Pei, why is it you? Paymo toyed with his teacup, looked up at her coldly. Why can't it be me? He then turned to look at the Grand Princess she had brought. Mother, someone poisoned Xiaoying's drink. But the Grand Princess was more decisive. Without even a moment's thought, she turned and coldly ordered, Guards, tie her up for me. My elder sister didn't even get a chance to defend herself before several matrons bound her. These matrons had all served in the palace and were very experienced. While tying her up, they also searched her and found a piece of oiled paper with powder stuck to it. Isn't Song Dalong the deputy minister of the Dali court? Go summon him. Today I want him to see whether this case is judged clearly or not, said the Grand Princess, enraged. Immediately someone went to fetch my elder brother. To identify the powder, someone else was sent for a physician. The physician arrived first. By the time my brother came, the physician had just identified the powder on the oiled paper. It was knockout powder. The medicine was cheap, used for drugging livestock, and easy to buy. My brother looked at the bound elder sister, then at me. He quickly pieced together the sequence of events. However, he didn't believe it. Xiaoying. Could there be some misunderstanding? She is your elder sister. I hid behind Paymo. I heard Paymo speak for me. Whether it's a misunderstanding or not, a trial by torture will make it clear. Finger presses, flogging. Is there any need to teach the procedures of the Dali Temple? At the mention of torture, my elder brother furrowed his brow. Meanwhile, the color drained from my sister's face. The moment the Grand Princess pulled the cloth from her mouth, she immediately started crying.
Why?
Song Xiaoying, why are you so lucky? Why do all the good things belong to you? You stole our parents, our brother, and my good marriage. Why wasn't it you who was raised in Qingzhou? Why did I meet young master Pei first, yet in the end, you're the one marrying him? It's so unfair. She wept pathetically, venting the resentment hidden in the dark corners of her heart. My brother seemed to be hearing her true feelings for the first time. I couldn't tell if he was more shocked that she didn't deny it, or by the very thoughts themselves he was stunned. I was fine, surprised but not too much, nor sad, just a sour feeling in my chest. I didn't understand. Didn't my sister have anything in Qingzhou? Our mother spent half the year there every year. Even when mother was in the capital, whenever she made summer clothes, winter clothes, or got something delicious or fun, she sent it to Qingzhou first. And after she returned to the capital, my elder brother favors her, and Shuiju likes her. As for me, don't I only have those red dates? Before I met Paymo, I truly only had those red dates. Now that it's come to this, everything is clear. I really don't want to look at my sister anymore, nor do I want to see my elder brother, who has gradually snapped out of his shock and wears an increasingly guilty expression. I tug at Paymo's sleeve, signaling that I want to leave. I don't know when it started, but with Paymo around, I always feel at ease. He takes my hand and smiles at me gently, and I feel reassured. Before he leads me away, he instructs the eldest princess to handle this matter properly, and I feel reassured. My elder brother chases after us, and with Paymo standing in front of me, I also feel reassured. Xiaoying, Wanning has been frail since childhood. I just wanted to make it up to her. She's your sister. Can't you just let it go? Aren't we family? But Paymo lets out a cold snort. Family? If all you wanted was to make amends, there are plenty of ways. Why did you choose to make Xiaoying feel wronged? Ask yourself, could you really not spare a single lychee or grape for her? When you fled for your lives at a critical moment, couldn't you have taken one more person with you? These words leave my elder brother speechless. Yes, why? Why had he never realized that Xiaoying might be feeling wronged? Thinking carefully, Song Wei couldn't find an answer for a moment, only recalling that every time Xiaoying would address him properly, brother. Xiaoying was 5 years younger than him, and although they weren't particularly close, when Xiaoying was young, he taught her to read and write, and she would listen very attentively, answering properly. Brother, I understand. When he asked if she had enough to eat and wear, she would also answer properly. Brother, I'm fine. Even during holidays, he would give her New Year's money and take her out to see the lanterns. She clearly wanted that big fish lantern very much, but still just smiled politely. It's okay. Brother, the small fish lantern is also very nice. But Wanning was different. Wanning would say to him, Brother, Qingzhou is lonely. I've had a hard time these years. She would complain, what if I were like Xiaoying, growing up in the capital, under our parents' care, with my brother by my side? Compared to Wanning, Xiaoying was too well-behaved. So well-behaved that when he punished her to kneel in the ancestral hall, she would obediently accept the punishment. He told her not to cry, and she never shed another tear. Even at Bailu Temple, when he abandoned her, she never came to cry to him about it. Had he really been gradually neglecting Xiaoying like this? As if slowly squeezed by a pair of large hands, Song Wei's chest ached with a dense, stabbing pain. I didn't look at my brother, whose expression was ugly. Instead, I stared blankly at Paymo. Originally, I didn't want to cry, but Paymo's words brushed against my heart like a gentle feather, making my nose sting and my eyes burn. Fortunately, I could hold it in. Then I heard my brother's hoarse voice say, Xiaoying, I could calmly interrupt him. Let's just say you never intended to wrong me, brother. You only thought that my sister deserved lychees, the imperial grapes, and honey melons, while I only deserved a plate of red dates. So much, so that over time, even I began to feel that I only deserved that ordinary plate of red dates. Brother, I paused and smiled with relief. This should be the last time I call you brother. I don't want to let it go, and I don't want to forgive you. You and my sister, I want neither. Leaving the Chui residence, Pei Mo and I didn't take a carriage. The capital had seen a heavy snowfall, draped in silver and white. Pei Mo wrapped his hand around mine, and we walked slowly side by side. I didn't feel the cold at all. Instead of returning to the princess's residence, he took me to the house next to the Song family. The outside of the house hadn't changed, but inside, it was already hung with red silk, a joyful sight as far as the eye could see. Yet Pei Mo didn't seem too happy. He had stopped smiling. Once inside the house, he took off his fox fur coat. He pondered for a moment, and his voice was no longer as warm as it had been at the Chui residence. Xiaoying, mother is a vengeful person. The way your sister acted today. She will likely be sentenced to penal servitude. With the Song family embroiled in such a scandal, your elder brother's official career is probably over. He spoke while observing my expression. Perhaps because I didn't care, I was able to become hard-hearted. I wasn't sad, just nodded. All right. He looked at me quietly, and as he looked, he suddenly sighed. Today, you were in too much danger. What if I hadn't come in time, and Cui Ju had really harbored ill intentions toward you? He paused, then said in a muffled tone. He must have heard everything from next door. What if he keeps bothering you? There was a strong sourness in his tone, and I caught it immediately. So, even someone as powerful as Pei Mo can feel uneasy and anxious? I felt a little happy. My chest was stuffed full, like it was packed with cotton. I couldn't help but smile. I'm really clever, I saw right through him. Don't worry, he won't bother me anymore, because I'm about to become Pei Mo's wife now. I snuggled into his arms to soothe him, then poked my head out. Staring at the faint blush creeping onto his ears, I smirked slyly. Besides, the reason I'm bolder today is that I knew the elder princess would believe me, and you would too. Pei Mo, am I borrowing your authority to bully others? Looking at the fuzzy little head in his arms, the faint bitterness in Pei Mo's heart vanished in an instant. He suddenly recalled the first time he saw Xiaoying. She was crying in a corner. Those were the lychees my brother gave to my sister. Should I not have taken them? Cui Ju only asked me to let my sister have them. My sister isn't a stranger, yet I felt so sad. Am I too awful? How can someone be blaming and doubting themselves even while crying? That's what he thought at the time. But it's fine now. His eyes curved into crescents as he couldn't help thinking. No, it counts. You've grown up. The end.